got Curious here in the top right position. Of course, as the Zerg, you may know him from being extremely good in the GSL.
Yep.
And here is StarTale.PartinG. You may know him from Immortal All-Ins.
Yeah, and also being extremely good at the GSL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, just so. And, well, PartinG, this game, the only reason I was saying that about PartinG, because he's a very well-rounded player, very good at PvT, very good at all the matchups. And the reason I was saying that is because the only game that I casted him this tournament against Zerg was a double Immortal All-In transitioning into victory and success.
Yeah. Victory, success, money, fame, all of those things.
Yeah.
But it is true that we've seen quite a large number of Immortal All-Ins this tournament, it has to be said.
Yeah. CJ Hero has done that 2 games in 2 separate best of 3s, and PartinG has done it in an entire best of 3.
Yeah, actually, PartinG is really making a name for himself for doing that kind of thing. So, we're here on Daybreak now. These players are, of course, teammates. Now, they do practice together quite a lot. Of course, they're both on StarTale.
Yeah.
So, I wonder if that's going to make any difference as to what they play. So, they can either both go, okay, I really respect the other guy, teammate. We want to, nice scouting there for the pylon and probe before putting down the hatch, by the way.
Yeah.
But they could either both go really straight up because they respect each other, or they can try and avoid what they do with each other in practice and do something really wacky.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes team kill games look so weird, even to a point where one player looks like he's really bad, just because they're trying to avoid situations where the other player is comfortable with, and by doing so, often avoiding situations where they themselves are comfortable with a certain play style. Sometimes it works out because in practice probably they don't have a lot of secrets from each other, and now suddenly you have to try and hide your intentions from your opponent. It's a little bit awkward sometimes, but at the same time you can also just decide to go with whatever you think is best and say, come what may, I'm gonna do my best, I'm gonna do what I am familiar with, and no matter what, I'm gonna keep doing that.
Well, we have a 3 hatch before pool, by the looks of things, coming out of Curious here. So he's maybe these guys are like willing to play a straight up game, and he went, well, if my teammate's going to play a straight up game, I'm going to try and be as greedy as I possibly can. So 3 hatch before pool from our Zerg player, and in the meantime StarTale.PartinG is going to be going for a pretty typical Forge Fast Expand. We can see him taking both of the gases in his main base now as well.
Yeah, they're both playing so greedy. PartinG's first scout is going to come out here at the 4-minute 15-second mark. He's going to see that hatch like super far along, and by doing so he will know that it's a triple hatch before pool, which means he doesn't need to make a cannon, but well, actually he already has it. Never mind,
it's already complete. So.
Yeah, it's already complete. So PartinG choosing to go for blind 17 Nexus, which would lose to 6 pool, 8 pool, 9 pool, 10 pool, whereas Curious is going for a triple hatch, also with very late scout, only the Overload scout, which would lose to Proxy Gate, Cannon Rush, and so we can basically agree that there's some kind of understanding between them that the range of possibilities that they may do, of strategies that they may do, does not include choosing each other.
Yeah, I think so. So it looks like this is going to be one of those games where the teammates have a lot of respect for each other, and they just want the best person going into the mid and late game to move forward in the bracket so that they have the best chance possible of walking away with the highest amount of prize money. And for that reason, we're seeing pretty greedy early games coming out of these guys.
Yeah, well, whatever the reason is, it's definitely true. You're completely right in that, that we see such a greedy early game. Now, we don't know exactly what this Twilight is gonna mean. My first guess is Blink, mass Blink attack, because of the 3rd assimilator and not the 4th yet, and also because everything is hidden. That's nice. He's gonna chrono maybe the Forge out a little bit more, trying to get that 2nd attack upgrade. Yeah, it could be DTs, but it could also be Blink.
Well, yeah, if he had taken the 4th gas, that would be a little bit more useful for like a DT kind of build.
But it would also be more of a tell, right?
Yeah, it would be. If your opponent could scout it, it'd be like, wow, he took these 4 gases pretty early. I wonder what he's going for.
It is DT.
It is.
It's going to be super cool for PartinG and not so much for Curious if this probe survives, because he's going to get a lot closer with those with that probe and the pylon than Curious could possibly expect. Because of course, Curious map vision right now is pretty good indeed. He has the Overlord here, he has this Olnaga Tower visions. Well, he will have this one soon, most likely.
Yeah,
and he has
really,
an Overlord
really
here.
Now, here's an interesting question, Grubby. We have a situation where we were implying earlier, like, if we're going to go really fast DTs, it wouldn't be too bad an idea to go for that fourth gas a little bit earlier. Because he hasn't done that until now, is there anything that he's cutting out, or is there anything that he's going to be delaying because of that?
Yeah, it's nice that you asked that. I mean, he is cutting out completely on sentries. He has 0 sentries, and that's what he was not able to afford that early. That's why he went Stalker into Zealot, so that the gateway still looks busy, and the opponent will guess that it's a sentry, but in fact it's a Zealot, which saves gas, obviously.
Yep, of course. So let's see what he can do with this Dark Shrine that's warping in now. Not too many sentries to defend, which could be a problem if Curious decides to break down the front door here. Do we have any forward pawns? We have one in the bottom part of the map, and it looks like that's where the first couple of DTs are going to be warping in. Let's see how much damage this can do to Curious.
The cool thing from what PartinG has done here, he gets that pylon for sure, because he knows it wasn't scouted, but he doesn't want to move closer with his probe and try to get a greedy, even closer pylon, because that would tip off Curious to the potential threat already.
Yeah.
Alright. The lair is already finished, so an Overseer will be morphing in immediately, but by that time, this hatchery will very likely be dead already.
Okay, so he's not opting to go for the approach of like one DT to each base immediately and try and pick apart the probes. He just wants to make sure that the third base goes down very, very quickly indeed, and it will indeed. The Overseer does morph in, but not before the hatchery goes down. And there is another DT in the natural expansion as well. Did he go up into the main? In the main.
Killed 3 drones.
Excellent.
And then there is a pool. He might kill more drones because Curious moves back too early. In the meantime, he's making a third right here very early. It's too early, but if the Zerg doesn't attack, you're going to get it for free. If the Zerg does attack, you just cancel. So at least it's good that Curious is canceling that. You don't want to let the Protoss get away with that so early while they're putting so much pressure on you. So let's take a look at the status here.
Yeah.
We have a total of 5 drones being killed. There's still 61 drones. Hatchery is going to be remade immediately, 57 probes, so they're very close to each other, and they're also mining from the same amount of bases right now. However, Curious is going to be able to recover once this hatchery is up. It's going to be like it never happened. He's still making his infestation pit, he's getting his gases in his main base now, and he's still denying that third base from PartinG, which is later than it would normally be. So it's not like PartinG's attack came at 0 cost. He lost 4 DTs himself, had a very expensive tech, and his own third is later. So it's still a very open game. Everything is possible, and for now we see this links around. It shouldn't be doing anything at all.
Good force fields there, and no, I think you make a great point there, Grubby. A lot has to do with how quickly you can bounce back from that sort of thing. And while that DT attack was going on, actually, the Ling run by from Curious into the third, forcing PartinG to cancel it the first time, I think that was a really good idea of this, because if he hadn't done that and PartinG just got the third Nexus up whenever he felt like it, that would have been super annoying for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true. And now with that Zergling even delaying the Nexus much more, only 1150 Nexus, and basically starting that even as Curious has already again finished this hatchery. And with 62 drones, Curious is going to be right back on track with his economy. He has a lot of larvae, a lot of hatcheries, 4 hatcheries total, which means that he will be able to crank out a lot of production. And gas mining is right back on track, so we should be seeing infestors being produced very, very soon here.
Yeah, pathogen glands almost complete, of course, so they'll have that extra energy when they do spawn. 5 infestors now on the way. Robotics Bay about to complete, though, and I believe that's +3 weapons on the way for StarTale.PartinG.
Yep.
So that could be really, really good. Again, zoning out your opponent with force fields to allow the DPS of your army to shine through. That's going to be super useful once you get Colossi out on the field as well.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to give the advantage a bit to PartinG of the early game gambits here. I think he is ahead with his upgrade that far along, with no infestors out just yet. Of course, they're gonna come out now, but not a lot of energy retention yet, and the drone count only now reaching like a really ideal amount of 80 drones. And the supply lead, normally you'll see Zerg almost being on 200 when Protoss is 135. Yep. Now they're very much closer together.
That's right, 135 to 146 at the moment, so Curious. Quite a slender supply, although he did just finish another round of units, going up to around 160 there. He has taken his 4th base at the forward location, so he's eager to spread his creep very quickly into the center of the map there, and he's using his creep tumors rather well. You can see he's spreading a lot of that creep down towards the bottom, and I think the reason for that is because if PartinG decided to do any sort of flank attacks, he wants to be hitting the newer expansions first. So Curious needs to get as much notice as possible if PartinG does that.
Yeah, you're right. Usually Zerg tries to expand in the middle first so that they can make a stand in one place. Zerg likes to concentrate on just fighting in one place. Once they get all their spines there, rather than having to build spines everywhere, and Protoss would try to flank, so it is indeed very important to get the creep out there. You Zerg nerds who are listening to this, you should definitely take that to heart. For PartinG, he has an unusual high amount of probes. 78 is very high for a PvZ match. So he's going to get very good economy, but not quite as big of a 200 supply maxed army. So getting charged up great now. I wonder if he's going to plan to go for the late game.
And it looks like, well, those force fields weren't the best in the world, but did zone out some of the units there. PartinG probably didn't mind too much, trying to catch this army off guard. And yes, pincer movement means that these units will definitely die. The Roach is desperately trying to run away, but frankly, there just isn't anywhere to run to. Forced to engage, and that's a good couple of units there being picked off. Good stuff there from StarTale.PartinG.
Yeah, and Curious just killed 1 Zealot and 1 Sentry with that army, so it was not really quite worth it. The cost efficiency for PartinG is running really high. PartinG is making a Nexus in the middle, and he's going to make Archons, and I feel like he's probably going to be doing a timing now. He has 10 supply missing from this army, but he's going to attack, and because he has so many probes, he's going to be able to reproduce the army that he loses here. But we see Curious already throwing up a lot of infested Terrans in order to get ready for this fight. There's some nice fungal growth, but PartinG has a pretty good spread. Force Field's going to be helping to zone out the opponent's units.
Yeah, that's right, and the Spine Crawlers are still in production as well, so they're not doing any DPS, of course, while they're still building. Good force fields on the south side, and PartinG is just ripping through the static defense of Curious. Crucially, though, he's not gaining that much ground at the moment. Gets a decent fungal off, but unable to follow it up with any sort of follow-up damage. And now we have a huge warping of Zealots moving to the front of the army with charge as well. That's going to come in super useful, tanking anything that decides to pop out Curious's way. And he's getting 8 Roaches, so having those Zealots in front going to be great for him, allowing those Colossi to do as much damage as possible.
I think I missed a component of the fight there with my observing. There were 2 Colossi coming from the left, and it's so nice that PartinG is using all these Zealots to reinforce with charge. He has so many Gate Mace, so good macro from PartinG here, such a big army, and that's why it's so good that he has so much workers, because he can reproduce so well. PartinG is playing this game like a Zerg. Look at his resources, he's macroing so well, and there's nothing that Curious can do. GG.
Wow.